What if the word now is the most confident lie you tell yourself every day? Right this second, you feel reality clicking forward like a shared heartbeat, one present, one moment, one timeline we all occupy together. But Einstein showed something deeply unsettling. Two honest observers can disagree about what happens at the same time, and neither of them is wrong. Think about how you know something is happening right now. You don't. You infer it. Your brain stitches together delayed. Signals light hitting your eyes, sound reaching your ears, tiny electrical pulses arriving late, and it paints over the gaps with a comforting story. Simultaneity, the illusion that distant events share one synchronized instant. It feels obvious because it feels necessary. Without it, the world becomes a strange mosaic, fragmented, lagged, and stitched together by perception. Now here's the twist that should bother you. Einstein didn't merely say our clocks are imperfect. He said the universe itself refuses to give you a universal same time. Not because of technology, not because of human error, because of how reality is built when light is the ultimate speed limit. If the speed of light is constant for everyone, then at the same time can't be constant for everyone. Something has to break. And what breaks first is your most basic mental anchor, the shared present. Imagine two flashes happening far apart. You swear you can ask which one happened first, but Einstein forces a more disturbing question. First, according to whom? Because the act of moving reshuffles what counts as simultaneous. The universe doesn't wait for your intuition to catch up. It calmly allows multiple, perfectly consistent versions of now, each tied to motion, each as real as the next. And if you're already feeling that subtle panic, because the next step is where it gets truly weird. I'm going to show you a simple thought experiment where simultaneity collapses in your hands, and you'll realize the present isn't a place you share. It's a perspective you carry. If this is already messing with your sense of now, don't just let it slide past. Pause for a second and tell me in the comments. Do you think simultaneity is real or just a brain-made convenience? I'm asking because this video only works if you track the idea as it mutates. If you miss one link in the chain, your mind will try to patch the hole with intuition, and intuition is exactly what Einstein is about to dismantle. So here's a quick deal. Hit like if you want more physics that attacks your assumptions instead of comforting them. And subscribe, because the next steps get even more disturbing. Once we break same time, we're forced to rethink time itself, motion, and what you even mean when you say reality. And if you want to lock this in, comment one of these phrases so I know you're following the thread. Nitrogen monoxide universal, now or simultaneity is a lie. It helps the channel a lot, and it signals you're ready for the thought experiment that's coming. Because in the next topic, we're not going to argue about philosophy, you're going to set a trap using light itself, and watch your common sense walk straight into it. Picture this carefully, because your intuition will try to rush ahead, and that's exactly how the trap works. Imagine a long train moving smoothly along a track, no jolts, no drama, just steady motion. Now, imagine two lightning strikes hitting the front and the back of the train at equal distances from its center. To an observer standing still on the platform, the flashes arrive at the same moment, same distance, same speed of light. Simple, simultaneous. Case closed, right? But now, shift perspective. Place another observer exactly at the center of the train, moving with it. This observer is not confused, not impaired, not wrong. They're just moving. As the train advances, the observer moves toward the flash, coming from the front and away from the flash, coming from the back. Light from the front has less distance to travel. Light from the back has more. The result is unavoidable. One flash is seen before the other. Not because of delay, not because of perception tricks, but because motion has rewritten what at the same time even means. Here's where most people try to escape. They say, okay, but which one really happened first? And that question feels reasonable. It feels necessary. But Einstein's answer is the disturbing part. There is no deeper referee hiding behind the scenes, no cosmic clock ticking in the background. The platform observer's simultaneity is real. The train observer's non-simultaneity is also real. Reality does not correct one of them. It allows both. This is the moment your intuition starts to fracture. Because simultaneity was never about light reaching Iz, it was about the order of events. And Einstein showed that order itself depends on motion. The universe doesn't store events in a single timeline, waiting for you to read them. It hands each observer their own slicing of reality, their own version of now, and it does so without apology. And notice something subtle. Nothing exotic happened. No black holes, no quantum weirdness, just light doing exactly what it always does. Which means this isn't a rare edge case. It's built into reality at every scale. You don't notice it because your speeds are slow and your brain is generous. But generosity is not truth. So if two observers can disagree about what exists at the same time, ask yourself this. When you say this is happening right now, whose reality are you actually describing? Hold on to that discomfort because the next step forces us to confront why the universe protects the speed of light, even if it means sacrificing your sense of time itself. Here's the part that almost everyone misses. Simultaneity didn't collapse because humans are flawed. It collapsed because light refuses to behave like anything else in the universe. No matter how fast you move, no matter who you are, light always travels at the same speed. That sounds harmless, almost elegant, but it's actually a demand, and the universe pays a brutal price to satisfy it. In everyday life, speeds add. If you run forward on a moving train, you go faster relative to the ground. But light doesn't play that game. Chase it, and it still escapes you at the same speed. Run away from it, and it still catches you just as fast. Einstein took this seriously. Hey, didn't say, that's strange, he said. Then reality must be stranger than we think to keep light's speed sacred. Time and space themselves have to deform. They stretch, compress, and rearrange depending on motion. This isn't metaphor. Moving clocks really tick differently. Lengths really shrink. And simultaneity's idea that distant events can be locked into one shared presentity's the first casualty of this rearrangement. It dies quietly, without explosion, because the universe cannot afford to save it. Now, here's the unsettling insight. Light doesn't age. From its own perspective, if such a perspective could exist, no time passes at all. Emission and absorption collapse into the same moment. No past, no future, just arrival, which means the entity we use to define time has no relationship with time the way you do. And yet, everything you know about when is built around it. This flips the story. You don't move through time and space while light passes by. You and the universe contort, so that light never has to change. The deeper you follow this, the more uncomfortable it becomes. Because you start to see that time isn't a universal river flowing everywhere at once. It's a local agreement, a compromise reality makes with motion. And if light doesn't participate in time the way you do, then ask yourself something dangerous. Is time a property of the universe or a side effect of not being light? That question doesn't just challenge simultaneity, it points directly at why. Gravity will betray time even further in the next step. At these points, you might think the damage is contained. Maybe simultaneity is broken only for fast-moving observers. Maybe this weirdness lives on trains and spaceships far from your daily life. But Einstein's insight goes further, and this is where the universe makes a ruthless trade you never agreed to. If light's speed must remain constant, then time and space cannot be rigid. They can't stand firm while everything else adjusts. They must become flexible, negotiable. And the faster you move, the harsher the negotiation becomes. Time slows down. Space compresses. Not as illusions, not as measurement tricks, as physical changes written into reality itself. A clock in motion doesn't just appear to tick slower. It actually experiences less time. This has been measured repeatedly with atomic clocks flown on airplanes and satellites. One clock comes back younger than the other. Not metaphorically younger. The universe didn't mess up. It did exactly what Einstein predicted. To protect light speed, it rewrote how time passed. And space doesn't escape either. Objects in motion shorten along the direction they travel, not because they're squeezed by force, but because space itself refuses to stay the same shape for everyone. What you call a meter is not what a fast-moving observer calls a meter. The universe allows both definitions to exist fully valid without choosing between them. This is the moment where intuition breaks completely because you were taught to think of space as the stage and time as the clock on the wall. Solid, background, untouchable. Einstein flipped that picture upside down. Space and time are not the arena where reality happens. They are part of the deal reality makes to function at all. And notice something unsettling. These distortions aren't rare. They're happening constantly right now. GPS satellites must correct for time dilation every single day, or your phone would drift kilometers off target. The modern world works only because we accept that time flows differently depending on motion and position. So if time can stretch and space can shrink just to keep light honest, ask yourself this. What happens when mass enters the picture? What happens when reality bends, not because of speed but because of weight? That's where the second betrayal begins, and time suffers even more. Up to now, motion has been the villain. Move fast enough, and time slows, space compresses, simultaneity collapses. But Einstein realized something even more disturbing. You don't need speed to break time. You just need mass. And once gravity enters the story, time stops being merely flexible, it becomes vulnerable. Newton taught us to think of gravity as a force pulling objects together. Clean, intuitive. Einstein erased that picture. In his universe, gravity is not a pull. It's a distortion. Massive objects bend the fabric of space and time around them, and everything else simply follows the curves. Planets orbit not because they're being tugged, but because they're tracing paths through a warped reality. Here's the part that should unsettle you. Time slows down near massive objects. Not figuratively, not philosophically, physically. A clock closer to Earth's surface ticks more slowly than a clock higher up. This has been measured with extreme precision. Two clocks, separated by height, live at different speeds. One ages faster, one ages slower. Gravity doesn't just shape motion, it sculpts time. And this isn't a small effect locked away in exotic places. It's active right now. GPS satellites must correct for gravitational time dilation constantly. Without Einstein's equations, your location would drift by kilometers every day. The world you navigate depends on accepting that time is fractured by mass. Now push this idea to its limit. Near a black hole, time slows so dramatically that, from a distant observer's view, it almost stops. An object falling in appears frozen at the edge, stretched into darkness. The universe doesn't explode. It calmly allows time to tear into radically different experiences depending on where you are. This creates a haunting realization. There is no single cosmic clock ticking for the universe. No master rhythm. Every region of space lives in its own tempo. The now near a star is not the now far away from it. Gravity doesn't ask permission, it rewrites the order of events. So if motion breaks simultaneity and gravity bends time itself, ask the question your intuition is avoiding. What is time actually made of? And if it can be stretched, slowed, and fractured, was it ever fundamental at all? That question leads directly to the most disturbing picture. Einstein left us with a universe where past and future may already exist. Once you accept that simultaneity depends on motion, something terrifying follows almost automatically, and most people never let themselves say it out loud. If Different observers sliced reality into different nows, then the universe can't be a single moving spotlight called the present. It can't be one shared moment sweeping forward. Instead, reality starts to look like a complete structure, a four-dimensional block where past, present, and future all exist as part of the same whole. This is the block universe idea, and it's disturbing because it doesn't sound like science, it sounds like fate. But it's not introduced by mysticism. It's the natural consequence of relativity. If there is no universal now, then what you call the present isn't a feature of the cosmos. It's a feature of your perspective, your motion, your position, your slice through a larger geometry. Think of it like this. You believe time flows because you experience change. Your memories pile up behind you, your plans sit ahead of you, and you feel yourself moving through a living moment. But relativity whispers a different story. Maybe you're not moving through time, like a traveler. Maybe you are a line in space-time in entire life, laid out while your consciousness reads it frame by frame, mistaking that reading for a universal flow. And now, the emotional punch lands. If the future exists in the block the way the past does, what does that mean for choice? For regret? For hope? For the feeling that you could have done otherwise? Your brain fights this idea because it threatens the deepest human story, that tomorrow is open. Here's the twist that makes it even more unsettling. Relativity doesn't say the future is predictable. It says the future is real in the same geometric sense as the past, because what counts as future depends on the observer. A distant event that you label not yet may already be in another observer's now, depending on motion. So reality cannot treat it as unreal in one frame and real in another. The universe can't flip existence on and off based on who's watching. This doesn't prove that you're a puppet. It proves something stranger. The universe might be less like a story being written and more like a sculpture already carved. Your experience of time, the flow, the urgency, the vanishing present could be a psychological overlay on top of a static structure. And if that's true, then the final question becomes unavoidable. If the present is and time doesn't move, then what exactly is reality? In the next topic, we'll bring Einstein back to the center and ask what he actually proved about you, not about clocks, not about trains, but about the way your mind mistakes perspective for truth. If you step back and look at what just happened, a pattern emerges, and it's not about trains, clocks, or light beams. It's about you. Einstein didn't just expose a flaw in physics. He exposed a flaw in human intuition. He showed that the way your mind experiences reality is not the way reality is structured. You feel a single, shared present because your brain evolved to survive at slow speeds, weak gravity, and short distances. In that narrow bubble, simultaneity works well enough. Cause follows effect. Now feels universal. But relativity reveals that this feeling is a local convenience, not a cosmic rule. The universe doesn't privilege your perspective. It allows countless equally valid versions of time to coexist without merging them into one story. This is where Einstein quietly clashes with philosophy. If reality itself doesn't commit to a universal present, then certainty becomes suspicious. What you call what's happening is always tied to where you are and how you move. The moon exists, the stars exist. Events exist, but their ordering is not absolute. Reality is objective, but your access to it is sliced, framed, and biased by motion. And here's the final discomfort Einstein leaves behind. If physics can describe a universe without a flowing present, then the feeling of time passing might not belong to the universe at all. It might belong to consciousness, a mental stitching process that turns static structure into lived experience. You don't perceive time because time flows. Time flows because you perceive. That doesn't make reality meaningless. It makes it stranger, more layered. The universe becomes a place where existence doesn't wait for observation, but understanding always does. Where truth isn't destroyed by perspective, but Perspective determines which truth you touch. And that's why simultaneity isn't just a technical detail. It's the crack that lets you see behind the curtain. Once it breaks, the idea of a simple, shared now never fully recovers. You're left standing in a universe that doesn't move forward together, yet somehow still makes room for experience, memory, and meaning. If you made it all the way here, you're one of the few people willing to sit with an idea that actually hurts your intuition and that matters. So do 3 quick things for me. Subscribe if you want more Einstein-driven reality. Breakdowns like this. Leave a like to tell the algorithm you're into concepts that bend your mind, and comment a phrase so I know you stayed till the end. Here's what I want you to write. Nitrogen monoxide universal now. Or, if you want to go even darker, the present is a perspective. And then don't stop here. Click the next video that's on your screen, because it takes this one step further. If now isn't real in the way you thought, then the next question is unavoidable. What does that mean for you, your choices, and the reality you swear you're living?